political earthquake has erupted between London and Washington, shaking the corridors of power from Downing Street to the White House. Within hours, headlines around the world converged on one name: Barron Trump, son of the former U.S. president, has been thrust into the center of a global scandal after revelations of a $150 million financial network linking his private investments to major UK industry. This story isn't just about money. It's about influence, control, and a prime minister under intense pressure. Tonight, Keir Starmer has reportedly done what no British leader has attempted in decades: to call out the Trump family directly. It started off quietly enough, with an apparent leak of a Treasury document circulating on encrypted channels late last night. The file allegedly exposed the outline of covert transactions routed through London hedge funds, listing Barron Trump as a silent investor. Financial journalists seized on the leak almost immediately, calling it the most dramatic transatlantic money scandal in 10 years. At first, it seemed a routine financial story until Downing Street intervened. Starmer's office issued an unusually ferocious statement, condemning foreign interference in the British economy. Insiders say he was furious behind the scenes, raising his voice as he accused Trump-linked firms of undermining the UK's economic sovereignty. By dawn, the confrontation began. According to Westminster sources, Starmer phoned senior US officials to demand immediate clarification. The call was described as tense and personal. His tone reportedly hardened as he accused the Trump family of manipulating British markets to politically embarrass his government. Then came the statement that stunned both governments: "If this continues, we will take action, legal, political, and economic." A prime minister directly threatening Donald Trump's son was unprecedented and dangerous. The result was immediate. Number Barron files and number Starmer threat went viral on social media. Supporters hailed Starmer for standing up for British independence, while critics charged that he was reckless to have risked dragging the country toward a diplomatic crisis. Major broadcasters characterized the clash as a gamble that could reshape Britain's global position. In Washington, fury arose. Trump loyalists attacked Starmer's comments. Senator J.D. Vance characterized them as an affront to the American people and stressed that any move against Barron Trump would be met with a swift and harsh U.S. response. In London, Treasury and Foreign Office officials went into panic mode, threatening that such escalation could lead to financial retaliation. Already, markets were reacting. The pound had begun to fall, and investors were getting edgy. Still, Starmer refused to back down. Britain cannot be blackmailed by billionaires, he told aides. Later that morning, cameras captured Starmer entering Downing Street with a cold, expressionless face. Reporters shouted questions about Barron Trump. He ignored them all. His silence only fueled speculation. It was mid-morning when Donald Trump hit back with a short yet explosive message on Truth Social: "Keir Starmer has made a big mistake. Barron is smarter than he'll ever be." Overnight, it went viral, securing millions of views and unleashing a fresh wave of ridicule at the Prime Minister. Inside London, Starmer's cabinet scrambled to contain the fallout. The Foreign Secretary, David Lammy, reportedly urged him to de-escalate, warning, "We can't fight Washington." But for Starmer, this became a matter of national pride, a moment to prove that no foreign billionaire, not even the son of Donald Trump, could manipulate the UK economy without consequence. As the hours wore on, other worries emerged. Financial regulators observed that several Trump-related accounts had quietly pulled hundreds of millions out of London markets overnight. The FTSE dropped 3% in a single morning. Banks became edgy, and investors started pulling back. Whether this was retaliation or not, no person could say. What was certain was that Starmer had ignited a confrontation that would not be easy. Whispers of emergency meetings and confidential briefings crowded the corridors of Downing Street, accompanied by the growing feeling that Britain was on the brink of a financial retaliation, not seen for decades. As the world was fixated on the growing clash between London and Washington, a quieter question began to make its rounds on Fleet Street and in Whitehall. Who leaked the Barron Trump files in the first place? Fingers pointed at Starmer's inner circle. Others suspected foreign intelligence. A few whispered about something far darker, an unseen hand deliberately trying to pit the UK against the United States. But before anyone could find out, the scandal spiraled out of control. Was this really about Barron Trump's $150 million fortune? Or was the money just a symptom of a much bigger, more dangerous conflict? And what did Keir Starmer know that pushed him to risk Britain's most important alliance? Because within hours, new evidence emerged and the real game began. The following morning, Westminster was in deep crisis mode. Inside Downing Street, the tension had thickened. Aides were whispering. Phones did not stop ringing. Reporters packed themselves outside. Number 10. Like vultures sensing fresh blood. Starmer's office released nothing. No updates. No clarification. Only the silence heightened the panic. Every headline was fixated on the same question. Why did Starmer threaten Barron Trump? The public, already worn down by rising costs and unending political theater, was suddenly confronted with something wholly new: the threat of an economic, political, and personal war between two nations. The Treasury confirmed that billions were being pulled out of London markets. American investors were heading for the exit in droves. The City of London, the financial heartbeat of the UK, was shaking. Banks froze projects connected to U.S. capital, fearing the threat of sanctions or retaliation. For one senior advisor, it was financial warfare in slow motion. Standing at the center of it all was a young man who was barely out of adolescence, Barron Trump, a name now tangled in privilege, power, and political fallout. Then another leak hit the press. Documents seemed to reveal that Barron's fund was part of a far larger web of offshore investments linked to European tech firms, companies currently holding contracts with Starmer's government. Overnight, the narrative flipped. This wasn't just about a teenager's wealth. It was about corruption inside the UK itself. Commentators started to ask a question that had once seemed unthinkable. Did Starmer know this before he lashed out at the Trumps? The opposition demanded answers. An emergency session of Parliament. Starmer, however, refused to back down. He told close allies, "If we back down now, Britain will never be respected again." Across the Atlantic, Donald Trump seized the moment. At a rally in Texas, he thundered, "They're coming after my son because they can't handle success." The crowd roared. American news networks ran the clip repeatedly, painting Starmer as a fragile bureaucrat attacking a young entrepreneur. For the first time in years, British politics dominated American headlines. Starmer's approval ratings plunged. Even loyal allies began to panic. According to reports, Angela Rayner was furious, telling him, "You've turned a family dispute into a national disaster." Inside Buckingham Palace, matters were decidedly grimmer. King Charles, according to sources within the palace, was gravely disturbed. Years of observing Britain fracture over Brexit, protests, and scandals could not prepare him for this new crisis. He summoned senior advisors inside the palace to talk over the stability of the crown in a time of political turbulence. That evening, leaks revealed that the king had urged Starmer in private to restore calm, but Starmer refused. According to the insider, he told Charles, "Your Majesty, I cannot let Britain bow to American billionaires." By morning, the quote was in every newspaper. The damage was irreversible. Then came the twist no one saw coming. An anonymous file landed in Sky News's inbox. It contained what looked like private communications between UK financial regulators and a Trump-linked firm. The messages appeared to show that someone inside the British system had warned the Americans about upcoming investigations weeks before Starmer's public outburst. If the documents were real, they pointed to something explosive. Starmer may not have overreacted. He may have been set up. And speculation ran riot. Protesters showed up outside Parliament. Some waved Union Jacks, shouting, "Stand up to Trump." Others accused Starmer of destroying the British economy out of pride. Police were forced to intervene as tensions ignited. Markets dipped again as American investors panicked over what they now called political risk in London. The pound fell to its lowest point in years. Global analysts compared the unfolding chaos to the 2008 financial crash, and the crisis was continuing to spiral. Only this time, the collapse wasn't caused by banks, algorithms, or reckless lending. It was triggered by politics and pride. That night, the BBC ran an emergency debate. Economists clashed with MPs, journalists shouted over one another, and one question drowned out everything else. Was Keir Starmer defending Britain's honor or tearing it apart? The country split down the middle. To some, he was a patriot, finally standing up to elite power. To others, a reckless leader who had turned diplomacy into a weapon with his temper. As the government fought its battle to control the narrative, behind closed doors, something even more dangerous was happening. Late that night, a senior intelligence official was seen leaving Downing Street under heavy escort. No explanation, no briefing, just a silent departure that sent Westminster rumor mills into meltdown. Within minutes, anonymous posts began spreading online claiming the so-called Barron files weren't just financial plays. They contained national security elements involving international data flow. Some insiders whispered that Starmer had seen classified materials suggesting British tech infrastructure was being quietly manipulated by American-linked firms. If true, his outrage wasn't emotional. It was strategic. If false, He had just plunged the country into crisis over a misunderstanding. By morning, Parliament was demanding answers. Starmer was summoned to appear. He entered the chamber steady, composed, though clearly strained. Cameras flashed as he raised his head at the dispatch box, facing political enemies and a country on edge. "This is about sovereignty," he said. "No individual, no family, no foreign power will ever dictate the course of this country." The words landed with force, but even his closest allies sensed fear behind the confidence. Because Starmer alone knew what was in the intelligence briefing he'd seen before, threatening Barron Trump. Something that could either vindicate him or destroy him. As the nation held its breath, the cameras cut live to Downing Street. Rain fell, crowds gathered, and for a moment, London felt frozen in time. When the black door finally opened, Starmer stepped out alone. No lectern, no aides, just a man carrying the weight of a nation. "Britain has always stood for truth," he said, his voice steady but tight. "Tonight, that truth is under threat." Then the revelation came. He announced that Britain's cyber intelligence unit had intercepted unauthorized data transfers between a Trump-linked investment firm and a network of European contractors working on UK defense technology. According to the intelligence, those files included sensitive designs related to military-grade AI stolen from British research labs. Starmer never directly accused Barron Trump, but the implication was unmistakable. The teenager's $150 million fund might not have been just wealth. It may have been leverage. The world blew up in minutes. Newsrooms scrambled. Washington denied it all, labeling Starmer's claims dangerous fiction. MPs were aghast. A crisis that once seemed like a fit of diplomatic pique now felt like an intelligence breach waiting to happen. But behind the scenes, the truth was murkier. Insiders leaked conflicting information. Some said the intercepted data was commercial, not military. Others whispered that someone inside Starmer's circle had reclassified the material to justify his outburst. And then the narrative split wide open. Was Starmer defending Britain from covert influence, or just rewriting the story to save himself? That evening, Nigel Farage seized the moment. Either he's just saved this country, he declared on live TV, or he's dragged us into the biggest political scandal in modern British history. His words went through like a match to dry grass. Social media exploded. Memes, theories, grainy clips of Starmer's tense address, everything went viral. For the first time, the nation didn't know what to believe. And when truth becomes uncertain, chaos becomes inevitable. Across the Atlantic, Donald Trump launched a counterattack at a rally in Florida. "They're lying about my son," he shouted to thousands. "They're terrified of us, terrified of success." The crowd roared. Within hours, Barron Trump's spokesperson issued a statement that said Starmer's claims were nothing more than a desperate smear to distract from collapsing leadership. And then, just as the world reached its breaking point, a shocking image began circulating online. A photo began circulating online, grainy, unverified, but explosive. It purportedly depicted Barron Trump boarding a private jet in Zurich, flanked by security, holding a slim black folder embossed with the seal of a European defense contractor. No major outlet could confirm whether the image was real, but it didn't matter. The spark had landed. The fire spread instantly. Panic tore through the halls of government in London. MI5 demanded an emergency briefing with Downing Street, and the Foreign Secretary urged Starmer to halt all communication with Washington until the truth could be verified. But Starmer ignored every warning. He was either convinced or dangerously desperate to believe that he had acted on solid ground. His inner circle began to fracture. One senior advisor abruptly resigned on live television, calling the crisis a catastrophic overreach by a prime minister blinded by paranoia. The shockwaves were still rumbling when, at 3 a.m, The Guardian dropped a bombshell. A whistleblower had leaked a redacted internal memo from the Cabinet Office, allegedly penned 2 weeks before Starmer's confrontation with Barron Trump. The memo warned that false intelligence might have been injected into Britain's systems by third-party analysts. Analysts reportedly funded by American private contractors. The implication was devastating. Starmer might not have been reckless. He might have been manipulated. Someone wanted him to believe Barron was a threat. Someone wanted him to act, and someone wanted him to fall. In that instant, the whole story turned upside down. Starmer was no longer the aggressor, he became the pawn. Who was moving the pieces? The government was, by dawn, imploding. Ministers resigned one after another. The pound continued its freefall. World leaders called for clarity. Even the king, breaking centuries of political restraint, issued a rare statement urging calm, truth, and unity. It was the closest Britain had come to a constitutional shockwave in decades. Meanwhile, New reports indicated the source of the planted intelligence might be a private firm registered in Luxembourg, funded through a maze of anonymous American donors. They gave the theory a name: Operation Proxy, a covert effort to destabilize the British government, shatter trust between London and Washington, and redirect economic power to unknown interests. Whether or not the operation was real or simply imagined no longer mattered. The story now had momentum, and it was unstoppable. By nightfall, Starmer was cornered. His government was in free fall, his authority collapsing, his every decision dissected by a furious public. Yet, instead of resigning, he did the last thing anyone expected: called for a live, public inquiry, televised for the entire world to witness. Let the world see who has been lying to Britain, he declared.